started. We are going to start off with the Black National Anthem. Yes, by Ms. Kyra Menacee.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony.
You know how they start giving honor to God at the head of the house. We're going to start with Desmond Prescott, who is the UDW District Chair. Desmond is from Riverside County and has been providing in-home care since 2015. He joined UDW when he saw firsthand how undervalued IHSS providers were. A passionate advocate for social, racial, and economic justice, Desmond leads with his heart and is proud to serve members of Riverside County. So Desmond, if you can come on down and give him a round of applause. And I am also going to bring up Simboa Wright, who is Vice President of SEIU 721. Simboa Wright currently serves as the Vice President of Service Employees International Union, Local 721, which at 98,000 members and growing is the largest public sector union in the country. At the moment, he is also a member of California State Racial Equity Commission. Wright also has spearheaded various initiatives that provided underprivileged communities with access to quality employment and higher education. After more than 2 decades as a civil servant, he is still dedicated to enhancing and bettering the lives of Californians. So if we can introduce Simboa Wright, you come on here. The queen of the panel, as another beautiful Black woman here in service to our community, is DeJonaé Shaw, who is the political coordinator. And I just got the information and left it because Shay said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." Yes. Let me read it. Let me do honor. Okay, where it's due. So sorry. DeJonaé Shaw, who is the political coordinator for USW 7600. So. DeJonaé, come on down, Queen. I'm so sorry. Stay ready. Stay ready. And lastly, we're going to bring up Eddie Thomas, who is the political coordinator for SEIU 721. Eddie is, wait a minute, sorry. Let me give you justice. I apologize, DeJonaé. DeJonaé Shaw is a licensed vocational nurse, small business owner, and community activist who ran for San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, District 2 in 2022, and the California State Assembly District 50 in 2024. She continues to advocate for strong education, hard work, and social justice in the Inland Empire. And again, DeJonaé, thank you for joining us. Last but never least is Eddie Thomas, political coordinator of SEIU 721. Eddie Thomas is dedicated political coordinator for SEIU 721, recognized for his effectiveness in advocacy, campaign leadership, with a background in lobbying and policy development. He has executed a successful campaigns that influence legislation and secure funding for marginalized communities. Passionate about amplifying underrepresented voices, Eddie is instrumental in community outreach and supports candidates committed to meaningful policy change. And we're gonna bring up Mr. Eddie Thomas. And I am excited to moderate this panel. Excited and scared because I was told, okay, good luck moderating. So I'm gonna give everyone about 2 minutes to answer each question. And the point of tonight is that we were here to build community and also in a safe space. We want your truth. We don't have to sugarcoat it. We are in Union's house. We are here to talk about hard truth in a place, and you guys have been selected as the trusted messengers of that truth. So I do want to extend openness to you, and I look forward to hearing your questions. And so the panel decided that Simboa always has to go first. So, Simboa, the first question is, tell us your story. What inspired you to become an advocate for labor issues, and how has your personal journey shaped your views on the current labor movement?
Well, it started a very, very, very long time ago. No, honestly, it really did. Born in South Los Angeles as a foster youth, it was union members that actually shaped my life. I was born in Martin Luther King Hospital. I was union members that took care of me. In foster care, that was social workers, that was union members that took care of me. As I graduated from high school, I ended up as a single father. And I had to get a career. Well, I needed to go to public service. And I applied for plenty of public sector jobs because I knew were good union jobs. That pathway was, it was rocky. It took a long time to get jobs. So I ended up becoming a conservation corps member. And finally, the state of California had an opportunity. I worked there for a little while under operating engineers, local 501. And then also, of course, the city of Los Angeles, where I really branched off and became a real dedicated union member. I knew how important it was to raise my child and now my children. And so the union, first thing first, when I came to the city of Los Angeles, hey, this is SEIU, sign this, fill it out, and become a member. And so from then on, the shop stewards all retired, and I was voluntold and became a union member. I mean, a shop steward, a bargaining team member, executive board member, and now vice president of one of the largest public sector unions in California. And then with that, it changed my life. All my kids went to college because I have a good union job. All my kids have careers because I have a good union job. And now I'm able to pass this on and educate others about what unions can do, not only for members, but the Black community. I see, now we have programs, and I'll talk about it later on, but I see my fellow folks that I grew up with just now starting their career with the city of Los Angeles, county of Los Angeles, and I guess I'm for overtime. But once again, I'll pass the torch to whoever's next.
Desmond, same question for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Like my brother, I'm a native of Los Angeles. I grew up on the west side of LA and South Central. And my grandparents were very influential. They helped raise me. And my grandfather was a Department of Water and Power guy. So, and he was a man's man, if you know what I mean. So he, I didn't attend a lot of rallies or really understood at the time what union was or what labor was about, but I knew he took care of his house and he was respected. So that's my first exposure to labor. And in later years of my life, when I became an adult, I got connected through labor, actually through the gentleman in the back, Ricardo Cisneros. All right, let's give him a hand. I attended my first rally right here in downtown Riverside, and I don't recall exactly what we were rallying about, but I felt connected. I felt the movement. I felt this is bigger than me. This is bigger than just individuals. It's a movement. And that's what, ever since that day, I've been just having this yearning or this passion just to keep the torch lit, keep the fire burning and keep things moving. So hopefully that answered the question.
You did with
Okay.
13 seconds to spare.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Thank you.
DeJonaé, same question for you.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my great uncle is Eldridge Cleaver, who's a Black Panther. And when I was a kid, he used to always tell us to stand up for what's right, you know, always fight for yourself and fight for other people if they can't do it for themselves. And sometimes people are afraid to do it. So I've always lived my life that way. I can be a little spicy individual at times, like some of us. Right? So the labor movement really is so much who I am, because every single day I have always had to fight for everything that I have, like so many of us. Before I started working at the hospital that I work at as a nurse, I worked at a very horrible nursing home. And I remember 14 years ago now, I made $9 an hour because I accepted their benefits, if we could even call them that, more like suggestions. And when I started working at the hospital, overnight, 14 years ago, I made $21.76 doing the same job, but I had benefits that were provided by my employer. And that was because of my collective bargaining agreement, my union bargained for that contract. And when I worked at the nursing home, I called the ombudsman all the time. I would, tell them what was going on to the patients that were that lived there, because someone needed to advocate for them. It was scary, of course. It's the only source of income that I had. I've lived on my own since I was 18 years old, like so many people. So obviously that was very scary to me. But then transitioning over to my union job and all of a sudden having what I thought at the time was so much money. I remember telling my roommate, I got the job, dinner's on me. Whatever you want, I got it. In hindsight, that's not really as much as it could be, but it was such a blessing. And from there, our agreement has allowed us to have dignified wages and incredible benefits, and that is the power of a union job. It's the power of a union, people fighting for you for good wages, good benefits, good working conditions. And so many people in the Inland Empire do not have the ability to have that because they are not represented by a union. So when I got my first paycheck, I remember looking at everything and I saw something called union dues. I'm like, what's that? Like, I didn't sign up for that. So I called my rep. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, where's this money going? And she told me, she went on to be the president of our local, to come and check out a union meeting and see what it was about, see our union dollars in action. So I went, and I fell in love with it. I joined a bunch of different committees, and eventually I landed on our legislative and education committee, because to me, you're either at a table or you're on the menu, and through policy, you can codify things that'll help make our lives better.
Thank you, that was amazing, right on time. I will say my journey into labor was a little bit different. I came from a political background, where I was a political director in the state of Colorado on a presidential campaign. And I was bit by the political bug, but I remember something my dad, who was a preacher, and he would always harp on us, you need to go into something that is gonna be sustainable and long-term. And at the time, I wasn't married. At the time, I was moving around state to state, campaign to campaign, electoral process. But I remember he told me, you need to start looking into labor. And that's when I did my research and found out about SEIU Local 721. When I did that, I didn't know that one of the first campaigns when I was brought to the Inland Empire was going to be in 2018. At that time, it was the city of Riverside, and looking at the different campaigns and looking at taking over and actually getting progressive champions. Everyone said when I got to the region, labor has never played a role. They don't have the power, they're not able to scale, and so you're not going to be successful. Well, 2019 came, we elected 4 progressive champions. We were able to take back the city council and actually push policies that put working families at the forefront. But I say that because in 2019, if you look at where the council is currently, we don't have those same progressive champions.
Say that.
And so when I'm thinking and reflecting about the labor movement as it relates today, you can make gains, but if you are not working for a long-term agenda and sustaining and actually organizing, all the work that you did in a moment can be gone. And so I say that not only for our movement, but I also say that internally, we need to also not let ourselves off the hook, and we need to change some of the systems and practices as it relates to African Americans who are in the movement. How are we training them? How are we scaling up their leadership? How are we putting them in a position to not only be an elected official, run campaigns, but actually sustain us in the long term? So I hope that answers the question.
Fabulous. Thank you guys so much for sharing. And since you have the mic, I'm gonna keep it right there. How does the intersection of race and labor influence your work? And what specific challenges do Black workers in our region face today?
I think a lot of us in this room know that race is at the forefront of every single thing that touches our lives. And I'm remembering some of the meetings that I was in when I first got to the region. And in some of those conversations, we were talking about a political strategy and, how do we make sure that everyone is at the table and not on the menu. And there were conversations around, well, African Americans only make up a certain percentage of the Inland Empire. Therefore, you're relegated to not actually being at that table, not being at the decision making. And I think for us in this region, we really have to be intentional with the conversations that we're having and not actually creating systems that oppress our people, but actually are promoting our people. And then the statistics have showed that the isolation that Black workers are facing right now, I think we all know that to be true, but I don't know if we are actually talking about solutions to bring that out, especially as our region is going to start seeing more people coming in from OC County, LA County. What are we actually doing in terms of the revenue for people to actually have a sustainable job? So that would be my take on that.
Thank you so much, Eddie. And you can pass that down to DeJonaé. DeJonaé, same question for you. We're gonna just keep going down the line.
I think, Black people really do understand the notion of a rising tide lifts all boats. And everything that we have done historically has not just been to advance Black people, but the collective. And when you really think about it, from this past election, and they're going over all the numbers and who voted for who, and Black people turned out in droves to make sure that we were able to have a person that actually represented all people in this country. And I think sometimes carrying that burden is so heavy for Black people. We are responsible for so much, and expected to carry this. Yet the opportunities that are given to us are not as many as they should. And I know people have a difficult time in talking about things like this, but whether we like it or not, race plays a huge factor in how we live our lives, in the systems that each and every one of us live in every single day, in how we are promoted at work or lack thereof, in how we are hired or not. And so I want people to think about where we're at as a country and really understand where we came from to where we're at today. Because we have an incredible, crazy 4 years ahead of us, and the new administration has only been in office for a month and a half, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen, and it's continuing to fester like a cancer. So if we really understand that we are so much stronger together, the possibilities are limitless, truly.
Simboa?
I don't go first this time.
Hey, no,
So I want to kind of talk about the intersection of race and labor. I believe that Black people are labor. I believe that we stand on the shoulders of William Bill Lucy. We stand on the shoulders of AFL-CIO. The civil rights movement was not about race. It was about race, jobs, civil rights, all rights, equal rights. We always, as a Black or African American race, make sure when we fight for us, we fight for all. And we need to continue to build coalitions, like we did with the Civil Rights. And we have other organizations. We're doing it down in Los Angeles. We have a campaign called 1,000 Strong, and it works. I don't know if you heard of 1,000 Strong, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm probably going over 2 minutes, sorry.
No, you got time to spare.
1,000 Strong is a coalition that we built with labor, the community, and that's SEIU Local 721, ASME Council District 36, Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and the UCLA Labor Center, along with the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. And we're thriving to get 1,000 jobs for 1,000 good union jobs for African Americans. And it's working. We have 48 folks that graduated from the program, and they are civil service employees for the city of Los Angeles with full benefits. We have two of those participants that took the civil service exam, and they scored number 1 and number 2 to promote. So the numbers show that it works. We're working on campaigns in Los Angeles County to do the same thing. We're working on campaigns in a lot of our jurisdictions and SEIU Local 721 to continue the 1,000 Strong program. I will stop and yield to my brother.
We just wanted to remind you, you live in Ireland. No, I'm just Desmond, same question for you.
Okay, so, the question, what's the question?
Great question. Let me get you the question. That is my job. How does the intersection of race and labor influence your work, and what specific challenges do Black workers in our region face today?
Well, you know, historically, black workers have always been exploited, unfortunately. I mean, we can start slavery, and we can look at, you know, entertainment. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So just down throughout history, Black workers have always been exploited. And currently, I would say it's more towards wages today. It's more towards like systemic inequities. And like when I think about the space that I'm in, domestic work, the birth of domestic work, these workers were they were slaves, and they were tending to the needs of you know, doing your laundry, doing all those things. So, and just down throughout the years, legislatively, they have made it so that certain rights or certain benefits were stagnant. So when I think about the domestic care space, so to answer your question, like I said, I think, you know, just down throughout the years, Black workers have been exploited, and the challenges that we're facing today are inequities when it comes to wages and low-paying jobs.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you.
Can I just add one more thing I forgot to say? You guys make me nervous. I think, you know, one of the biggest struggles that Black people face in the Inland Empire when it comes to jobs is lack of resources and opportunity. All people need is a chance, and so many other counties have an abundance of resources when it comes to training and funding, but the Inland Empire, we just don't have it. We are significantly underfunded. It's not even up for debate. I'm a huge proponent of trades. I think going to a four-year university is great, but not everybody was meant to go there. And it's okay to give people the ability to harness their own strengths and abilities by way of entrepreneurship and trades. Plumbers and HVAC technicians, they're gonna be millionaires. And we should be encouraging people to go into these avenues of work, but more importantly, give them the tools that they need to be successful.
Thank you. And this is, anybody can grab it. What lessons from past Black labor struggles do you believe are most important for today's movement?
In the spirit of Martin Luther King and Black History Month, I think he was a stalwart in the labor movement, and I think the sanitation workers strike, when he went down there and he was eventually assassinated, to support them, and their mantra of "I am a man," that whole campaign to fight for wages, better working conditions, and his assassination galvanized the labor movement, and so. If you look at history, every single thing that we have, fought for, labor rights, women's rights, and we've codified these things, right? We got it into law, but all of this has been the result of a mass movement of society caring about one another, regardless of what we look like, who we pray to, who we love. And we're seeing that all the things that we have worked so hard to codify is being rolled back. And that does depend on who's in the Oval Office and whatever their executive order agenda is, like our current president, who's literally taking a knife to everything that people have fought for in this country for decades. So I think it is just the same thing, a different fight, and we really should look at where we have come from when it comes to all the people who have fought so hard, all their blood, sweat, and tears, and what they have sacrificed, and we are still in that same fight today, and we must never forget it. And that's why it's so important for us to teach history. People want to erase history and act like it never happened, but the risk of that is we continue to repeat it, which is what we are currently doing. So,
Struggle was, like she said, we were talking about civil rights. We need to continue to build coalitions. This is not only about labor. We need to have clergy, we need to have community, we need to have everyone involved. Because if we just think that we can do it as labor alone, it will not work. Everyone that was out there was not all labor. Everyone that was out there was not all clergy. It was community organizations. And that's what we need to continue to do. We need to build coalitions so we can continue to fight the struggle and make sure that we all have a voice.
Okay.
That's good.
No, I think, when I think about the struggles, the word that comes to mind is resilience. I think there's a lot that we learn from struggles of Black folks, and that is resilience. And like my brother said, it is going to take community to get us back or get us ahead of the game. And I always share this sometimes in certain situations, and that is like most people, like me personally, I admire turtles. I admire turtles. I think they're amazing creatures. And what's very unique and special about turtles, in my opinion, is I know they move slow. However, they're hard on the outside, but they're soft on the inside, and they're willing to stick their necks out. So we have to have that type of courage. We have to have that type of resilience to where we're willing to stick our necks out for something that we believe in. Thank you.
I do not have an analogy but what I do have is a suggestion for how we go about the work that we need to do. And I think it comes from the lessons that we've seen in the past. And it touches on something Simboa talked about, which is coalitions. And I think a lot of times as labor, we are focused on our work and organizing our issue area, and we've been doing it for years, and we're subject matter experts. But we have to move outside of that and become continual learners and understand that we can't just continue to fight for our piece of the pie. Because at the top, they are changing the entire game. This has been the longest couple of months of a new administration, and on one area, I'm very happy because it's the longest Black History Month. But on the other side is, we can't continue to do business as normal. And as labor, we have to understand that we have to work with community-based organizations. We have to work with nonprofits. We have to work with faith leaders in order to actually build power and scale to compete and contend with power that's on the far right, because they're not playing around. And they're coming for the entire bag. And as Black folks, we know that when they come for the bag, we are the first ones on that chopping block. But we can't just look at ourselves. We have to build coalitions outside of those that just look like us. and those that may not think the way that we do. And how do we make meaning in those spaces in order to organize and build that power?
I was amen, I'm sorry, thank you for answering that question. And this room is quiet now, this is room celebrating Black labor leaders, and I know Black folks are not this quiet, so you are allowed to shout, jump up and down, and agree, so absolutely. Our next question is, what policy changes do you believe are necessary to address the disparities Black workers face in the workplace? And we will start with you, Shanae.
Sorry. Okay. I think a lot of Black workers face discrimination in the workplace, and they often face retaliation as well. So I think that there needs to be stronger penalties for employers that are retaliating against employees, and give the EEOC more oversight so that they can actually hold these employers accountable, and also incorporate better whistleblower protections as well.
And policy man, come on.
I mean, I only have 2 minutes. I feel like we can go for a while on this. There's a couple of things internally that I think we need to do in terms of practices of actually finding qualified candidates. I know that folks use that as a crutch to say like, there weren't that many candidates that we could actually approve, so we're gonna go with what we used to know, and our system gives us this type of candidate. That's one piece. I also think there's something particularly around revenue and top public sector unions, and making sure that we're getting our fair share of resources that come back to the city, come back to the county, and ultimately come back to the state. And then the last piece on this is making sure that workers are protected on the road. I know a lot of times that people will make the demands, they'll say this is going on, and that is not actually being recorded, it's not actually being fought for. And so making sure that those voices don't go unheard as well.
Thank you. Simboa?
Well, we have to put champions in office to get bills put through a legislature, but we also need to work at the local level.
Come on.
Cities, counties, and of course, like I said, state level. I don't know about this new administration, John. I'm just saying, I don't know, but all I can say is, when you put folks in office that will think out of the box, they might not even be from our community, but they can think out of the box. When I say from our community, I'm talking about the lower income community, okay? They might be in a district and they have a little bit more money, but they can think out of the box to make sure that they represent everyone and not just their area in their district or whatever. And so, and we have to work together with those folks to have letter of agreements, have charter change and so on and so forth at the local level where we do have a voice and we do have access to good union jobs.
Raising the minimum wage would be one, to a living wage, a livable wage. As we know, like when it comes to inflation, it happens. So we should be looking at raising minimum wage, especially if we're finding a lot of workers in those areas are Black workers. Then if we raise the minimum wage to a living wage, that's one way. And then, like Sister DeJonaé said, just stronger enforcement of anti-discrimination laws. When it comes to wages, when it comes to hiring, when it comes to promotions. These things happen. They happen subtly. They happen in subtle situations, but they happen. So if we can look at those two areas, in my opinion, I think that we would, to answer your question, I think we can raise black folks, disparities, correct, sorry. All right, so those are the two areas that come to mind for me.
Thank you.
for sharing, Desmond. And hold on to that mic if you don't mind.
How can labor unions better reach and empower Black workers? I myself know. How can labor unions better reach and empower Black workers in the low-wage sectors?
Think through educating and development, personal development. And, you know, because once a person is educated or enlightened, they walk different, they talk different. Your shoulders a little bit more erect. And education is very, very vital. When we look at Black history, and you look at your history, you know your history, you just have a certain sense about it. So, to answer your question, I think through education, if labor could come together and educate workers and inspire workers through education, through history and current affairs, I think we'll be on to something pretty strong there. Because it would inspire workers to, it would inspire people to want to work.
Thank you for sharing this. Simboa?
Apprenticeship programs. We have a lot of labor unions in the IE, a lot. But it takes our unions to think out of the box. Once again, we can't continue to do the same thing. We have to move forward. Sometimes people just don't get writing and reading, taking an exam. I just said it. We had 48 participants in the city of Los Angeles that are full civil service employees doing the same work that someone would have took an exam for. Not everyone will pass that civil service exam. Now that's the public sector, but we have a lot of private sector. It takes training, of course, but some people are just hands-on. So we have to think out of the box. I know a lot of the industries you'll need license and certification. Okay, but that will come along. I'm telling you, it'll come along. I've seen it and I know it. So my whole point is we have to think out of the box and figure out new ways to make sure that everyone has access.
I think it is incredibly important to reach workers in low-wage sectors, but I genuinely believe that the real work is actually reaching them before they even get there, in schools, in middle school and in high school, and letting them know the opportunities that are available to them. I'm a firm believer that one cannot be what they cannot see, and so we have to demonstrate to them what is possible. We have to go into their schools, we have to speak to them, we have to speak in layman's terms, if you will, because people, all they need is an opportunity or a chance to do and to be better. But if we're continuing to go down the same path of shoving a certain career path down people's throats, people will never know what's possible. And so I spoke at length about this. I'm a firm believer in trades and giving people an opportunity to actually do other things. There are so many opportunities in that sector, and sometimes the work can feel daunting, and you are only one person, you can only do what you can do, and we're so much stronger together. So what we may be doing is very different than what Simboa may be doing, or Desmond, or Eddie, but together and speaking with one another and collaborating and holding different events and actually allowing students, young adults, to be able to decide for themselves what kind of future they want, I think is really important.
I think it's a really important question, and I think the first piece of it has to be making sure that the organizers that are going to speak to these workers can relate, that they know how to also know their background, where they come from, and it wouldn't hurt if we were intentional with making sure that some of the organizers came from those same communities and look like them. I also think we need to do a better job of creating a pipeline of organizers who come from certain communities, who can show the success of, yes, this is where I started, but this is not the end story for me. And so I think if we can do that, and then going out to the apprenticeship pathway in high schools and making sure that there's different pathways for success. And success doesn't always have to come with a 4-year degree, and promote that.
Thank you, guys. We have 2 more questions, and we want to thank you for answering them so authentically. How can labor leaders build solidarity between Black workers and other marginalized groups within the labor movement? And I will start with Simboa. They said you go first on hard questions.
That is not a hard question, okay, let's read to it. It's something called the Target Local Hire Program, and I'll just explain the program. You have 6 months of training, that's a vocational training, but you don't take the civil service exam. These are entry-level positions, y'all, okay? Positions are maintenance labor, maintenance construction helper. So these are like semi-skilled, really unskilled positions. And, pipelines and clerical, okay? And so 6 months of vocational training, 6 months of civil service probation, you're full-time. Once you step foot in the door, you get all the benefits, including the union. All you have to do is fill out an application at a work source center, and they blindly pull your name. That's how we connect the dots right there. And you just have to, with that program, you just have to live within Los Angeles city limits. That's how you do things. We know that if you get a good income, you are able to at least make it. We can't say you can buy a house in Los Angeles, but you can definitely buy a house in the Inland Empire. But we have to figure out ways to do that out here. We have to figure out how to do that, but we have to do it collectively.
Thank you. DeJonaé? The question is how we can build solidarity with other marginalized groups, right?
Within the labor movement.
I've said it before, a rising tide raises all boats, and I think historically we've been taught to fight against one another. Divide and conquer is what they do at the top, to see one another as competition, or that we are not equal. And they've done it forever, and it continues to work. So I think all of us need to look in ourselves and see the things that were taught to us, and why we see the world the way that we do, and to understand that we all truly are in this together. Sometimes, these conversations make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, I think the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And we, as marginalized groups of people, always end up with the short end of the stick. So when are we going to work together and find strength in each other? So I think if we focus on that, we will definitely have a better shot at creating, at the risk of I'm sure it's a utopian society for all of us. I'm hopeful. Go ahead.
I'm hopeful too. I think one of the things that we have to do is making sure that the folks that are in this room and that are like-minded are in leadership positions. I think labor has done a really good job of creating systems that benefit, and they're able to actually wield a lot of power. But it doesn't necessarily always move as fast as we would like it to. And I think a part of that is there's a lot of new organizers, new people that are leaders in their work site. How are we building them up and scaling them up to leadership positions to make sure that, there's a lot of different ways to go about organizing for solidarity. But if we're just doing the same thing over and over again, to your point, we're gonna get the same result. And so I think we have to get that new leadership and that new group of folks to be a part of that as well. And then the last piece, I think, just on the organizing, I said it before, but we can't continue just to keep fighting for our piece of the pie. And I think we have to reach outside of just looking at our labor contracts as just that, and I think we have to expand.
Thank you. And Desmond?
I think when workers, when we unite across races, across immigration, when we just put aside all of our differences and come together as just a group of people, and then creating spaces where folks feel safe to be able to express themselves, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. You know, I mean, we've echoed it a lot here tonight, and that is build coalition partners and build up leadership within our community.
Desmond, give you time.
I'll take this time. Okay, and then, you know, when I just think about it, we were fighting, our union, the union, we're fighting for fast food. We don't represent fast food workers. But if we raise their wages, then we're gonna raise our wages. And so, you know, like I said, again, we have to think out of the box. Our members were like, why are we worried about fast food workers? We don't even represent them. But we have to educate each other also, no matter what union you're in. You know, we all have to bring the community up.
Especially here in IE. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think Ricardo's favorite term that I always love is the IE is no longer cheap labor and cheap dirt. That is my always go-to. I use it in my organizing speeches. Thank you, Ricardo. Technology, most of technology. This is the final question, and I'm also going to ask you for a call to action. And I think we go to the question and then end with the call to action from each of you, so if you can just prepare for that. And I'm going to start with the head of the house. And Desmond, what advice would you give young Black leaders interested in labor and community organizing?
What comes to mind is step into your power. Step into your power. Know your history. There's a lot of wisdom in the room tonight. Connect with somebody. Especially if you don't know, if you see a face that you don't recognize, go and introduce yourself, exchange numbers. There's a lot of wisdom in this room tonight. And so to answer your question, it would be to step into your power, know your history, and pass it on.
Know your power. That was good.
Know your power.
Know your power. Go ahead, Simboa.
Once again, connect, form these coalitions, no matter if you're a community member, if you are a union leader, or just a regular union member that's not even a shop steward. We all have a role to play in this. If we really believe in the IE, then let's believe in the IE. We do not have to be separate when it comes to making sure that we rise up together. And my call to action is, I'm asking each and every, it's all of our responsibility, no matter who. You can learn from a child. When you stop learning, that's the problem. But my call to action is, I ask every last one of you, no matter what position you hold, if you're just a community member, step up to the plate, be a part of the solution, and form coalitions to build for the Illinois.
From a labor perspective, I would say the union is you. You know, each and every one of us make up union, and I think that when you're new to organizing and you're talking to people and explaining to them, whether it's you're talking to a person about job opportunities, or maybe you're trying to organize a work site, people only know what they know, you know, and sometimes people will be a little bit scared, they'll be a little bit apprehensive, but I go back to saying one cannot be what they cannot see, and just you being there, it'll really encourage people to take a leap of faith and to not be afraid and to want better for themselves. So the labor movement is a constant thing. We will always have a labor unions fighting for workers' rights, and we're going to need more people to help galvanize this movement and make it a mass movement again across the country. So be encouraged, and there will be some days where you're so tired and you feel really defeated, and maybe more of those days that you actually feel hopeful. But so many people have come before us and I felt the same thing, but it's because of them and their sacrifices that we have what we have today. So we can't let their sacrifice be in vain.
I would say my call to action is the time is now, and I think we can all see what we're up against, especially with in our own backyard, we have a candidate who just announced that he's gonna be running for governor. That's only one aspect of this. And I think the Inland Empire is going to be ground zero of testing out messaging of how they can divide and conquer, not only black community, Latinos, Asians, the list goes on and on. And so I would say now is the time to start organizing. We all organize in our daily life, with our family, with our friends, but we need to actually continue to do that in an intentional way. And then the last piece I would say is we do stand on the shoulders of giants, and we also need to step into organizing with some humility and be willing to learn from those that go before us. And I would say my last piece of the call to action is to actually have a mentorship. Reach out to someone so you can learn something new and apply that in your organizing daily. Because at the end of the day, you're ready.
I feel like she probably should to her.
Yeah, it's very simple. Get involved. Get involved. Step outside of your comfort zone and get involved. You can learn a lot. Like I said, you can learn a lot from people in the room. There's a lot of wisdom in the room. There's a lot of work to do in the community. Start somewhere. If the current administration or the person that's in the White House today, if he can make it into the White House with all of the challenges and things that he had to overcome to get there, what could you do? What does that mean for you? You know, when I look at certain people in the community that I grew up in, I'm like, wow, you know, it inspires me to let me know that anything is possible if we stay focused. And so, yeah, just get involved. Very simple, get involved.
Thank you. Can we give a round of applause to our
Thank you all. So that is going to wrap up our programming tonight, but before I wrap it up, I want to give a shout out. Oh yes, you guys are Thank you, I'm sorry y'all. I want to give a shout out to my team. There is Zoe Karis in the back, who is our project coordinator. I'm trying to give him some time, but also Jesus Flores, most of you know him, is Chewy in the back, who is my policy director. Most of you know, my research director, David Mickey Paveo. And one of our fabulous, I guess I call him my admin assistant, Greg Hutchins over here. And also I want to give a shout out to my two co-faculty directors, Marissa Brooks, who's here. And Ellen Reese. And so this is our team over at UC Riverside Inland Empire Labor and Community Center. And I want to just thank you all for all the work that you guys have put in, especially putting this team together and doing this tonight. And with that said, before we leave, there is a presentation. I did not forget you. You and I are becoming very much friends because we do this every time we're in this building. Do you have something you want to say?
Sure.
He is from Senator Eloise Reyes' office. Michael.
I'll be brief because I know I'm standing between you and the rest of your evening. But this doesn't happen by itself. It takes a lot of work. So I'm first thanking all of you for taking your time to come out tonight. Wasn't this uplifting? There are a couple of organizations that spend their life energy uplifting us as a community, uplifting those who have the potential and just need to have the opportunity to reach and fulfill their potential. And those two organizations, on behalf of Senator Eloise Gomez Reyes, I have the certificate of recognition for the Inland Empire Labor and Community Center. And another for the Inland Empire Black Worker Center.
No, thank you.
Michael, hang on 1 second.
Thank you. And before we get out of here, I just want to give a shout out because we do have a number of elected in
of liberty, let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God